All right, welcome back. In case you're just joining us, it's time for our conversation right now. Olabode Sowunmi, the Chief Executive Officer at Cabtree. He's also an energy consultant, the Vice Chair Gas to Power has supplied. That's Gas to Power Study Group of the NGA, that's Nigerian Gas Association. He's with me right here. Happy Friday to you, Mr. Sowunmi, and good to see you. It's been quite a while.
Thank you.
Since this COVID lockdowns and all of that.
And fortunately, we managed to escape it.
Have you really escaped? Have we really escaped? Because there are still rising cases. So we've just got to be careful.
Absolutely.
Anyway, let's get started with the topic. The quest for alternative fuel, the clamor right now, the conversion of petrol cars to autogas. It's been launched. I think the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources went to a filling station here in Abuja, somewhere in Lugbe or so, to launch the conversion and all of that. And Timi Silva said some time ago, perhaps in 2017, that gas is Nigeria's new petrol. Do you agree with him? Is gas Nigeria's new petrol, as mentioned by Silva?
Well, thank you. It's an interesting way to put it, but more importantly, it is correct. Because technically, in terms of chemical compositions, gas and petrol are largely the same in terms of how they are chemically composed, largely. However, in terms of the operational processes and the combustion, because the purpose of petroleum products is to produce energy, and in the process of producing energy, it is combusted. In the combustion processes, gas is less contaminating to the environment. So if you look at the way the proponents of clean energy and sustainable energy put it, gas is the happy middle between the fossil fuel and on one extreme and the totally environmental friendly fuels on the other extreme. So if they say gas is our new petrol, it is true, because we have about 10 times more gas than we have oil. So in reality, we are actually a gas nation. Not really an oil.
More of a crude nation.
No, more of a gas nation.
More of a gas nation than a crude nation.
Yes, than an oil nation.
Than an oil nation. Is it because of our proven reserves? Because we have more of gas reserves than oil?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it's just in terms of what we have. So if somebody sells granite and coconut, and you find out that he has 10 times more coconut than granite, even though he's known for selling granite, he's actually more of a coconut seller.
Should I agree with that? Because people know us, Nigeria, of course, our sole earner is crude oil.
True.
So perhaps we are more of an oil. I really don't want to argue, but perhaps it's just stating the fact that I know that we have a lot more of gas reserves than oil, but we are known and our sole earner is oil. So perhaps until we start earning from gas, that we should now begin to be known as a gas nation.
Well, that's one way to look at it. But I think the fact of the matter is just when they say we are more of a gas nation, we're just talking about the amounts, the volumes that is available. So in other words, we have more gas.
Volume that is redundant.
Well,
you're a science student. I'm a science student, so we understand what we're saying. So if you don't put something to work, it's zero. So you don't attribute anything to it.
Very true. Work done is zero. So which now brings us to where the tire touches the road. How can gas be made to put to work, which is at the root of everything that is being done, whether it is the declaration of the decade as the decade of gas or the declaration of the year as the year of gas, is that gas has a potential that oil does not have. It has the potential to turn the country into a genuinely industrialized nation, because there are so many industries that directly or indirectly depend on gas. And what the government has done in the principles of setting that up is to come up with a policy which is called the Domestic Supply Obligation Policy, which basically stipulates that every producer of gas, whether non-associated or associated gas, will make a percentage of that gas available for local consumption, which is more or less a way to force them to make gas available and also to develop the local market in terms of gas. So what the government has done is to set up an agency, quasi-agency, called the Gas Aggregation Company of Nigeria, which basically is to aggregate all this gas and then distribute it to areas where it will be needed. Excuse me. Now, what the government has done as part of the DSO policy is also to make gas available for three major areas to be focused on. The first is power, which is basically gas to power. Gas-based industries, those are industries that use gas as raw materials. You're talking about fertilizers, you're talking about methanol, those kind of industries. And then the industries that use gas to power their machines and their turbines and all that. Of those areas, gas to power actually consumes about 70 to 75% of the local gas that is in the country. Unfortunately, because of the challenges within the power sector, particularly the cost-reflective tariff issues and the other liquidity issues in there, the gas-to-power sector is being owed. In other words, as of today, the gas-to-power sector cannot survive if we don't resolve the issues within the power sector. But that's an issue, that's a totally different ballgame. So what has now happened is that a lot of the gas suppliers are now moving inland into other places, in those gas-based industries and gas-to-industries. Those ones, not only are the prices more interesting for them, they actually pay up, unlike the gas-to-industry. So another thing I didn't mention is that there's something called sector-based pricing. In other words, different sectors have different pricing within the industries. With the gas-to-power sector, because of the critical role that power occupies within the nation, they're getting gas at the cheapest value in compared with to the others in the value chain. So really, if we want to look at an industry per local government in this nation, gas is the motivator to do that.
So the proven gas reserves we have, will it really be enough for the kind of industrialization we're looking at?
Absolutely.
At least in the next 30, 50 years?
Absolutely. Even go over and beyond that. Even in export. Because
I don't know the way I'm taking this interview, but I'm trying to make it as primary as possible because this is a technical area. We have proven all the reserves, and it's been said at least in the next few years, at least in the next 30, 50 years or so, we may not have oil anymore because oil would finish. So I'm actually looking at it in terms of the proven gas reserves we have. Can it finish? I'm thinking,
because it's a finite resource.
Let me think like a market woman so that so that my viewers can also actually also you understand what I'm saying?
Totally. Because it is a finite resource, it can finish. But can it finish in our lifetime? It's highly unlikely.
That is our own lifetime.
Our own lifetime is highly unlikely. And there are many factors to it. You see, when we even talk about proven reserves, that does not mean there are no additional reserves. You understand? It is our gas reserves even go beyond oil. They go into our reserves with coal. The whole of the Benue Trough, the Benue Belt, so you're talking about Enugu, Kogi, Benue State, and the whole of that place is full of gas. It has a huge amount of gas within those areas. So technically, if we're going to even go into what is the areas that have gas, you're going to find out that many states, maybe even as much as half of the states in Nigeria, will end up being petroleum-related states.
Okay, so let's take a look at this policy and try to dissect it. The policy of petrol cars conversion to autogas. What does it really mean for those that are watching us right now to be broken down? Though I said it at the beginning of the program, but why do you think that policy was necessitated in the first place? Is it because it's the year of gas and the decade of gas? And what does that policy mean?
I think to begin with, the fact that government even had to be the first to do that is actually an indictment in the entrepreneurial capacity of Nigerians.
Really? Is it not government that can also show?
No. I mean, that is true. I'm just trying to put certain things in perspective. I think globally now, gas is the third most popular fuel for driving cars. After petrol, you have diesel, the next is gas. So you have a huge amount of nations that actually have converted cars to gas and are using it. In fact, in India, our popular Keke Marwa, which we know comes from there, the ones that come to Nigeria are designed specifically for Nigeria to use petrol because over there, they actually use gas for their Keke. So the point is, this is a global opportunity that we're actually latching up to late. And we're latching up to it late speaks to maybe the fact that we are not looking at ingenious ways to maximize the things that are available to us.
Is it that we're not looking at ingenious ways, or perhaps the environment has to be clear and has to be conducive for private investors or for private sector to thrive? So
You know,
perhaps government is also taking that stance in terms of okay, this is a policy we believe in, this is a policy we can do, so let's go ahead first. Because government has also come in terms of its own started conversion of its own vehicles or some vehicles, buses to gas, and also handed over to labor. You know, so perhaps the environment is not friendly.
which is true. I mean, there's no gainsaying it. But however, there's something that we call, that's globally acceptable, called the entrepreneurial spirit. The entrepreneurial spirit goes beyond the uncertainties in the environment to actually achieve results. If you look at the America that is America today, it was not built in a friendly environment. America is probably one of the most friendly business environments, but America itself was not built in a friendly environment, because when you check the 5 greatest entrepreneurs that they have, I'm talking about John D. Rockefeller, Vanderbilt, who built the railways, and the guy in the banks, J.P. Morgan and co. They built America when everything was rough. It was in the cowboy system. So the point is, there's an entrepreneurial spirit which does not look for excuses, but goes beyond the uncertainties and the difficulties of the situations to bring results. And it is a fact of history that in spite of the difficulties that we have as a nation, there are entrepreneurs who have actually succeeded. They may be few, they may be exceptional, they may even be lucky, but the fact remains that the entrepreneurial spirit is responsible for developing the market in the free market enterprise. Does that absolve government of their responsibility? Far from it. You understand? But what we're just saying is that government can do whatever it is that they're doing, but we in the private sector, we that are responsible for driving the engine of growth, must also be ingenious. We must also know what is happening. We must be creative, and we must do our stuff. Because sometimes what you actually need to get government to do the things that they should do is the fact that you get a critical mass of the people that know what is happening, and we will knock on the doors of governance to ensure that they do what they do. We must not forget that every governance cycle is 4 years. And if an issue is important enough in the heart, in the mind, in the thinking of people, it becomes something that puts pressure on governance, and they will have no choice but to accept it. Today, not too many people have come up with a solution to how to solve the power problem. But there is nobody that is going to aspire to any genuine office in this country who does not know that what is ringing in the hearts of people is how the power problem will be resolved. You don't even need to be an expert to do that. And that is because there is enough thinking and enough talking among people that we want power, we want power. So it is putting pressure on government. It's the same here. Every issue that is important to the development of an industry, to the development of business, the business sector holds it upon them, is incumbent upon them to speak enough in the ears of people, to speak enough in the ears of government, to make sure that there's enough pressure on government to do the right thing.
So explain the policy really, because explain that policy of petrol cars conversion to auto gas conversion.
To my mind.
Or to auto gas, rather.
Yes. To my mind, basically the year has been declared as a year of gas. So this is basically putting teeth to the declaration itself. So you're actually doing something that will actually lead to a footprint in the sense of time. That, to my mind, is what has actually happened. In terms of economics, in terms of the realities to the lives of people, the engine of the cars are going to last longer. Cars that use gas are definitely going to last longer than those that use petrol. Basically all other things being equal, basically because the engine will need less power to fire to convert. The other fact is that based on current rates, it is much cheaper.
Because the government says that perhaps it will be sold at 97 naira a litre.
Even if it is,
I don't know if that is market driven.
Even if they sell it at the price that you used to buy your cooking gas at home, it will still be cheaper. It will still be cheaper, because don't forget that the petrol, when the combustion takes place, is converted to gas. It's the pressure on the gas that goes in through the injector or carburetor, depending on the one that the car is using, that now fires the engine. So you have taken close to half of the combustion process away, and you now use gas to fuel it. So, there are a lot of business opportunities there. Even the conversion processes
Yeah, because
it's a business opportunity for
yes,
anyone.
I think the government said it. I think coming from NGEP, that's National Gas Expansion Program, that about 500,000, 500,000 engineers, conversion engineers, will be hired, will be gotten to do this, and it should provide millions of jobs, direct and indirect.
True. It's actually not rocket science. It's things that a lot of people do. It's a technician's job, really, because there's no design there. It's not core engineering. But the point I'm trying to make is that I mean, if you step to South Africa, you go to London, you go to China, there are millions of other places that people have done a lot of things. And these conversion kits, you probably can even order it online.
So how will it work? Because I'm actually also interested in the science, because many of our cars run on petrol and diesel. Yeah. So if I, for example, take my car to one of the perhaps 9,000 filling stations that will install the facilities to get this autogas conversion, how will it even work? Can my car also be running on petrol as well as gas at the same time? And I fill it in with any one of my choice as far as my pocket be for that day. You understand what I'm saying?
Totally.
Yes. I mean, if I have money for petrol that day, I put in petrol. If I cannot, I go for gas.
No, you know, the fundamentals of quality life is the ability to choose, to have choices. So, I mean, one of the things that being wealthy does, having money does, is that it gives you opportunity to choose. So, once people have choices, the quality of life improves. I mean, that's on that side. But I have actually not studied it in terms of looking at the processes, but technically, I want to think it's possible. I mean, definitely technically it is possible. Whether that will be the reality of what is happening is a totally different ballgame. I'm not sure of that until I study the engineering design for the car and the engineering design for the combustion process to see what is actually going to take place. So I would not want to guess on that, but I think technically speaking, it is possible to have two options.
If we're talking now about the cost of conversion, because a lot of Nigerians will be particular about that, they may like the idea, but the cost of conversion from a petrol car to a gas and autogas car. Do you have an idea? At least you're around the corridors of power. Sometimes, or you are in power.
Sometimes what you hear on the corridors of power are strange voices. But and you don't really hear, I mean, but jokes apart, so I overheard in a conversation yesterday that it was about 250,000. I don't know how true that is. So that's just basically, but what I do know, like I said, is that these conversion kits are everywhere in the world. I mean, you can go to Amazon, you can go anywhere and order them. You can go on YouTube and watch the video of how these things happen. So nobody can patent it because they don't even own the cars. They don't own the cars themselves. So if somebody is converting at 250,000 and you study the process and you can do your own conversion for 100,000, then by all means it's a free market. It is a free market. So, and those are the things that should be encouraged. Nigerians' entrepreneurial spirits and their drive should be encouraged to come up with options. And then if what is available is just a conversion to one aspect, killing off maybe the petrol, somebody else may develop his own facility where he makes both options available. And that is additional service. So all of those things are welcomed. So I don't think this is something that can be patented or should be patented. It's against the fundamentals of the free market. So people, irrespective of whatever anyone is saying, people should go, study, they should find out what's happening, they should travel. We like to travel. So they should travel, see the things that are happening there, get partnerships, get conversion kits, and go on the job. There is so much market in Nigeria, so much market for cars.
And perhaps this is an opportunity for people to begin to lash on. You talked about private sector role or private sector participation, and let's delve a bit into that. I'm aware that the Central Bank of Nigeria also introduced, I think, a 250 billion naira stimulus package to, ensure development of infrastructure around this gas market. How do you think, and also to bring in private sector really, how do you think that would play a role?
Well, in the development of business, I mean, there comes a point in time after you've done your business plan and done your proof of concept, that you need financing. One of the greatest or greater challenges for Nigeria within the oil and gas space particularly is absence of finance. Because it's one thing for you to develop a business around this circle, and then it's another thing for you to try and go into international businesses who will talk about the risk factors within Nigeria, whether it is governance risk, whether it's political risk, and even the foreign exchange risk itself. Then it's another thing for people to tell you that the world is moving away from fossils. Meanwhile, they are doing the same investment in their own country. But if that is the political language of the world in terms of financial investment, then people must just speak it so that they don't go contrary to...
But we're seeing tangibles across the world moving away from fossils. Even in the UK, petrol cars will be no more, I think, from 2030, which is just like... how many years? 9 years down the line.
Yes. We possibly could stop using petrol for cars. I mean, that's probably likely. But that's not the only thing that crude oil is used for. Crude oil actually has close to 10,000 products. If you check this room now, from the walls to your rooftops to your ceilings to even your cotton clothes, there are implications of crude oil there. Pharmaceuticals have crude oil. The tar on the road have crude oil. The pen, the ink in your pen has aspects of crude oil. Virtually every area in this world has crude oil. Can people stop using petrol for cars? Yes. Can crude oil usage go? No. Because for the crude oil usage to go, you have to find a substitute for all those products. So you have to find a way for you to tar your roads that will not involve crude oil. You have to find a way for you to make this glass without involving crude oil in the process. You have to find a way for you to use ink in your pens. The wigs and weave-on that our sisters use. Like the one I'm wearing now. Well. So, I mean, there are so many things.
I understand what you're saying. Hydrocarbons, of course, broken down, quite a whole lot of materials.
Even in the pharmaceutical market.
Okay, we're still talking about this stimulus package, 250 billion. And let me break it down. According to, that is the 250 billion stimulus packages in collaboration with the Federal Ministry of Petroleum Resources. And the CBN said that the activities that are eligible under the intervention shall include, so you listen, viewers, so that you know these are where business opportunities are.
Absolutely.
The establishment of gas processing plants and small-scale petrochemical plants, enhancement of domestic cylinder production and distribution by cylinder manufacturing plants, establishment of CNG primary and secondary compression stations. CNG is compressed natural gas. Establishment of auto gas conversion kits, just like you were talking about earlier, or components manufacturing plants. Establishment of LCNG regasification modular systems, too many technical words. Establishment of gas cylinder manufacturing plants, and a host of others. So can you just quickly just break it down? I know you've been saying quite a lot, but these are the business opportunities, really. And if you're able to do this, that means you're able to assess finance out of this 250 billion naira stimulus package for gas investment.
If I'm going to speak to anybody, the average person who wants to invest in this area, the first thing I would advise the person is that he does not have to think about knowing all the technical terms or knowing all the details of the technical issues, but rather he needs to partner. Because it's like you want to establish a hospital. You will do well to partner with a medical doctor if you are not one, to establish one, because you are not going to be a medical doctor or know the medical issues by being around medical doctors even for 10 years. There are certain things, because of the technical nature of the way it is, you need to work with people around that area. However, everyone who has expertise in business, who has expertise in opening doors, breaking through barriers, also brings something to the table. Because basically, in the fundamentals, in the best practices, this I got from my days in KPMG, was that in the best practices of business, there are 3 skills, minimum skills that every business needs to survive. And they put it this way, they call it minders, finders, and grinders. So minders are those who manage the business. You're talking about your HR people, your finance people, and all that. They put their mind, they manage the business. The finders are your business development people, your sales people, your marketing people, your communication people, and all that. And then your grinders are those who do the technical stuff. I mean, if it's a law firm, then your grinders will be your lawyers there. If it's an advertising agency, your grinders will be your journalists and those who do it. So every area needs to have, for every entrepreneur to succeed, he needs to have those 3 skills. But there is nobody, even in his area of expertise, that has all the 3 skills. We are usually good at one and have a residue of the other. So for you to effectively grow beyond a certain level, you need to partner. So it's at the fundamental roots of partnership. So if you're going to do a CNG plant, you must, first of all, even if you're going to approach the CBN, you must do a business plan. You must do a feasibility study. You are not going to be able to do that yourself. And you are not going to be able to understand that, what the details of what is given to you, if you are not technical to the industry. In fact, you wouldn't, if they can give you a technical business plan, make a presentation to you where you are shaking your head, and you bring it before technical people and they tell you that this is jargon. Absolute rubbish. Simply because those are not core to your area. So people must learn to partner. It's as simple as that. And every business in this world that goes beyond a one-man business is a business of partnership. There's no conglomerate that is made by one man.
I heard something from, forgotten the name of the man now. He said, he was talking about his company, and he said, we collaborate when we need to collaborate and stand apart when we need to stand apart.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
that cuts me there. Let's still talk about this, because I know that when it comes to money, a lot of people are inching to hear a lot of things. And of course, this show, I gravitate really to the cost of it, counting the cost of it. Still on the 250 billion naira. I must say, for viewers right now, they're interested, they can actually also check out those guidelines from the central bank website. I believe it should be there, or the Ministry of Petroleum website. The central bank has set 10 billion naira as the maximum loan and obligor can access under that 250 billion intervention. So you need to check out those guidelines. What else again can we expect, especially as this year has been said to be the year of gas, or the decade of gas, especially tying it into a national gas policy?
You know, like I said, the uses of gas goes beyond just transportation. There is gas to industry, there's gas-based industries, and there's a whole range of value chain that goes into that. It's incumbent upon people to just have an understanding of the value chain itself. Because we are all different people, and the sum total of us is a product of so many experiences we have in life, the way we will see this value chain will differ. And then the capacity to identify business opportunities in each value chain will differ for people. So it is important that Nigerians, not as one or two, but as a whole, looks at the whole thing and then see opportunities that come. There's a pipeline that is politically explosive that is being built, the AKK. Every single place where the AKK passes through, I'm not saying where it ends, every single place where it passes through gives you a wide range of opportunities there. What in Kaduna is my understanding that the governor has set up a map for an industrial park. And he has made that available to the builders of the AKK, such that they will take that in concession when they are building the pipelines. Nothing stops Kogi from doing the same. Nothing stops Niger from doing the same. Nothing stops Benue from doing the same. I mean, the extension is just going to be minimal. So it is important for all of us, because this gas is not just suddenly going to become millions. It is the value that we add to it that will make it productive. So for every single place where the pipeline has passed through, whether it is the OB3 that goes from Edo State, where my in-laws are, to
shout out to in-laws,
to the other, I mean, to Lagos and all of that, for it to get to Kogi itself. Every single place has an opportunity for massive businesses, and we must not let this thing pass by.
In the gas policy, are there some other issues which the gas policy is not addressing? And if you take a look at perhaps the pricing of gas, is the pricing of gas relatively fair? And the third question, because we've got about 2 minutes to end, if you can provide perspective on what's the meaning between CNG, LPG, and LNG Yeah. Compressed natural gas, liquefied petroleum gas, and liquefied natural gas. Yeah. So the three questions, then we are done.
I think to be fair, and to be fair to all parties, it's always best for prices to be determined by market forces. That's what's in the interest of all.
Is the market mature in Nigeria?
That's why there's a regulator. Even where markets are mature, there's still a regulator. Because the purpose of a regulator really is supposed to end the concept of monopoly. In fact, to understand it, from the days of John D. Rockefeller, who built the first multinational in the world, an oil company, and dominated, basically took over the whole market in the US, which was the biggest in the world at that time. The US had about 80% of the world oil market. And they took him to court, and that became the first antitrust case. And what the court ruled was that the company must be broken down to 5. And those companies are still in existence today. We're talking about Chevron, we're talking about ExxonMobil, we're talking about ConocoPhillips, and all. Now imagine one person having all of that company as one. Who is going to compete? So the concept of a free market enterprise is very important.
Okay, very quickly, CNG, LNG, LPG.
Basically, LNG, liquefied natural gas, is just natural gas that is liquefied. And it's only important when you are doing transportation. So it's basically the medium from which it is transported across countries, because you are not going to build pipelines between here and Tokyo. CNG, compressed natural gas. Gas is affected by temperature and pressure. They lower the temperature so that it is liquefied. They lower the pressure, they alter the pressure so that it is compressed. And that, so that it is used for certain things that the normal forces available for the the pressure with which it is available.
Sorry, I'm taking you back to chemistry class.
And physics class.
Yes, and physics class.
And the pressure with which it is available at room temperature may not be effective at that price. So at that place, so you compress it. It's the same natural gas, but it's used. It's made available. The properties are changed so that it is used at the different. It's like water.
Okay.
You have gas,
block, and coal at
steam,
the same different temperature.
At different temperature.
Yeah.
LPG is your cooking gas.
Melting point. Okay.
It's just basically technical name for your cooking gas.
Okay, I think we'll leave it at that. I think on this note we can go home for the weekend. This chemistry 101, or is it physics 101 now? Well, thank you very much, Bode, for showing up today. I've been speaking with Olabode Sowunmi, who is an energy consultant and the CEO at Cabtree. We've been looking at the issue of a petrol cars conversion to autogas. That's the much we can take today and this week. Be the best you can be the change you want to see. I am Nancy Naji. Bye now.